Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Philbert Way. It seems like this is all we're doing at the moment. Opposition I. This time we've got Crystal Palace. We've been away for a while, and we have got the man himself, Talk Crystal Palace Football Club, in the building. How are we doing?
Yeah, good mate. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good now. Football's back. Let me tell you, can't be watching any more international football. Don't mind the Euros, but I'm not doing Nations League. There's too much of it. But I'm glad it's back. I'm very much glad it's back. And we've got a big one. It's normally, I don't know, I'm a bit shaky about when Leicester go to Selhurst Park, but this time we're running it back. Leicester back in the Premier League, playing against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Let's just talk to you about how your start of the season's been so far, because I think it's been quite similar to ours. 1 point, had a draw, two losses, and the last result was a bit of a promising one from what we're seeing on the outside in. Are we right to say that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been a bit of a weird season. Like I think 1 point from our three games probably doesn't really reflect how those games have gone. I think against Brentford we were pretty unlucky to not come away with anything. I think we kind of threw that game away. We missed chances. We had a goal disallowed, that free kick, which was just nonsense. West Ham, we were probably like the long spells, we were the better team, just didn't finish our chances. But yeah, getting a point against Chelsea was important. Like going into the international break, if you've got nothing on the board, it's kind of a bit bleak. But I mean, there's plenty. Like I'm not worried. Like it's not it's not panic stage yet. It's been 3 games. We've seen what we can do under Glasner. We had a pretty disjointed preseason because well, a very new problem for Palace was that we had a lot of players at international tournaments. So we had like people Copa America. We had four players in the Euros final, two in the Copa America final. We had Mateta in the Olympics final. So like a lot of our key players didn't have much of a preseason. So I think we're still kind of getting to the swing of things, but performances have been there generally speaking.
Yeah, I think that's the opposite from what a lot of Leicester fans will tell you. I'll try and be positive where I can, but I
Mm,
think the opposite is you've got 1 point, you played really well. I think Leicester have started really slowing games every time. It's always kind of been when the subs have come on, when we've kind of got back into the game. Spurs, it was the case. Fulham away, that was a bit of a toothless performance all round. But I think in the most recent game, as soon as we've made changes, it's too little, too late, and we've left it too
mm.
late in games. But yeah, again, pre-season for us as well wasn't too good. But of course, coming into a game against Leicester, it's kind of probably the first game you're going to play against a team that's probably nailed on to be down there. What's the thinking coming up against Leicester? Like, what are your thoughts on Leicester at the moment? To put you on the spot.
Well, I think like as a Palace fan, like there are games. And it'll be the same when Palace come to Leicester, I'm sure. Like you've got to win your home games against teams who are, going to be mid-table or lower. I think Palace fans would view this as a game that, like, if we don't win, that's a disappointment. It's a good chance for us to get 3 points on the board. What I would say though is like, Steve. I still think Steve Cooper's a good manager. He's a manager who Palace had wanted for long spells while he was at Forest and at Swansea. We tried to get him loads of times and failed to. Um, but I think yeah, generally speaking, like we're at a point now where we've signed some really good players in the last week of the window, none of which played against Chelsea. So some new faces coming in would be good. I think we should be fresh after the international break. I think a lot of our key players didn't go on the break, which is really useful. And yeah, obviously like Leicester. Last time Leicester came to Palace was a very positive experience for Palace fans.
Awful
So yeah,
experience. Awful, awful, awful.
that was one of the all-time great Palace games that for me.
Serious limbs as well. I was actually, do you know what? Funny story here. I love being in the mixer. The away end is the best thing ever. One of my friends kind of sorted as a box out for the game. I'll be honest, sorted as a box, and we were right at the other end of that Mateta goal, and everyone around me was just going crazy. Limbs in the Palace end, and I'm thinking like, that was the moment. I think everyone knew it was the final nail in Brendan Rodgers' coffin as well.
Mm.
Actually, that game, and it was just.
It
I think it's been hard for me to like Mateta since, to be
it made
honest.
me. I don't blame you, mate. It was that was also the point where he like wasn't good. Like he was not like obviously last season he was brilliant.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd scored that season until then. And he took his goals
yeah,
so well.
he did it. It was
The
a
the one
great
the,
touch. Yeah, unbelievable finish as well.
the one
So
thing that
good.
always sticks in my mind is after that game, Brendan Rodgers saying that he didn't think Leicester deserved to lose, which was like, I think the stats from it.
Pull
Someone
up.
posted the
I was
other
gonna
day,
say we'll
the
pull up the
stats.
stats here. I seen it yesterday. Oh, it
Mm,
was
it was
atrocious.
one-sided.
It's just unbelievable, and that's what he was. And I hate to go back to Brendan Rodgers, but that's what he did, isn't it? He
Mm,
talked a brilliant game. You could lose the game 6-0 and he'd convince you it wasn't a terrible
mm.
defeat. That's what he did. But yeah, we're going on into this one. You mentioned your transfer business. You've again purchasing players, you've been way better than us. But I feel like you've been in the same boat as us in terms of having a few good players leave. You've had Michael Elise go to Bayern. Anderson, what's the general thinking about Anderson? Because it seems like you've not really tried that hard to keep him because he's been given a
Mm.
whopper contract at Fulham. What's the
Well,
what's the, yeah,
that's the thing. Like, I think all Palace fans like Anderson and rate Anderson, and going into the season had no intention of upgrading him or replacing him or anything. It obviously, like, it's kind of come to light now that he wanted like a lot of money and a long contract, which we weren't willing to give him.
understandable at that
Which I
age as
think
well. Yeah, it's completely
exactly,
understandable.
there's kind of been I got told by someone that Glasner, the manager, didn't not rate Anderson, but wasn't a huge fan of him in terms of how we set up. Like, we play quite a high line. We actually saw it in the first game against Brentford. Anderson got like done a few times for pace, and we looked like really immobile at the back, which was a bit of a worry. But I don't think anyone at the time thought, oh well, we're going to have to sell Anderson then because,
Yeah,
but yeah, Fulham came in with ultimately like a good offer. I think 30 million ish. We made a profit on him. We got good years from him. He'll be missed, but then we've used that money to go and get we got Chadi Riyad from Barcelona, who was on loan at Betis last year.
yeah,
We got him for like 10 mil. We got Lacroix from Wolfsburg, who Glasner had wanted all summer. We got him for like 18 million, and we got Trevor Chalobah on loan. So we actually got three centre backs through the door, all of whom are young, and we still made a profit. And we kept Gahey. And actually, I think selling
yeah,
Anderson strengthened our position with Gahey as well, because it meant that I think if Anderson had stayed, we probably would have sold Gahey and we would have accepted a lower offer from Newcastle. But, in the end, I think it was a bit of a topsy-turvy, especially with the centre-backs, like a bit of a topsy-turvy summer. But then we look at the team now and it's like, okay, I think we're better off, especially
yeah.
at the back. Elise is a loss, but I think everyone knew Elise would go. Elise is like a world-class talent, and I don't think anyone expected him to stay, really. So
No.
I could swallow that one, but
Yeah.
otherwise, I think we did pretty well.
I think yeah, I think looking at you guys, you said with Anderson, it's got a massive. I can't believe Fulham actually offered him that kind of deal. But you've kind of, like you said, you've recouped. You've got three defenders in. You've kept Eze as well, massive, like a new signing. Adam Wharton's brilliant. You've got Gahey as well, but you've added Nketiah to the team as well. I'm starting to reel off these players, and I was actually hopeful of maybe nicking something from the game, but I don't know anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, we've got good depth. Like it's something, and to be fair, we've had to replace, because, well, Leicester have signed two of our attackers in Ayew and Edouard,
Yeah,
who are two players. They're not starters for us necessarily, but they still needed replacing. Like, they were players who got a lot of minutes last year, and would have played like big roles in our squad. But it feels like we have generally upgraded. Like, I think I think especially, so are you, like, I know some Leicester fans weren't a big fan of the IU signing. I think you'd struggle to find many Palace fans who would say a bad word about IU generally. I think it was like, what, 5+3, I think is what you got him for. I think that's like good. I think that's generally pretty good business. Like, as you'll see, he's a very functional winger who will work hard. He's very good at keeping the ball, very good at winning fouls, and you give him a run in the side, he'll get goals and assists. But I feel like now we've kind of got players. We've brought in Ismail Assar, we brought in Kamada from Lazio, and Nketiah. And those are all like three genuine attacking threats who all offer something different. And all, like we saw against Chelsea, Sarr came off the bench, and Chelsea centre backs hated him. Like, they were dropping so deep because Sarr is so quick, and we've just not really had that kind of threat off the bench for a long, long time.
It's always nice to have them kind of players off the bench, and it seems like a completely different player to Ayu. But I'm glad you said that about Ayu actually, because at the time I was thinking it's a it's a bit of a fee for someone of that age, but he's not. I think a lot of Leicester fans seem to think, oh, he's coming to be the number nine. He's not going to score 20 goals a season. He'll nick a goal here and there. We've seen in cup games he scored an absolute worldie already. He's got
Mm.
it in his locker. But before we get on to Ayu, who can play, we'll talk about Odson Edward, who can't play. And it's
Mm.
like feels like we're going to be waiting a month to see him play. Like, what can Leicester fans expect from Edouard?
Edouard's a funny one. Like he's been a bit unlucky at Palace with injuries. Under Vieira, he didn't get much of a run in the team playing through the middle. Towards like the beginning of last season, he started as our main striker and scored. I think he got like 6 in his first 8 games or something. He started the season really well. Then he got injured. And then Mateta came in and obviously did like amazingly. And so he's never really had a run in the team. And I think I'm a believer that he's very gifted footballer. And if you can get him confident and like consistently playing, he will score goals for Leicester. I've got no doubt about that. But so much of it is confidence with him. Like you can see that he's very hesitant a lot of the time. He seems to have completely lost the ability to like cleanly strike the ball. Like every shot is a scuff, it seemed. But then you'd see flashes, especially in his first season, where you're like, God, this guy's a really, really good player, like really good striker, good with the ball at his feet. He'll drop in. He presses very well as well. I think someone like Edouard, like he could easily hit double figures for Leicester this season. And I think down the bottom of the Prem, a striker who's getting 10 plus goals is worth so
Yeah.
much. And like it's a shame to see him go. I've always quite liked Edouard, but I think again it's similar to Ayew. Just it's something that works for everyone. Like Edouard can
Yeah.
now get a season where he's going to play a lot of games, and either he comes back to Palace as a genuine striking option, or he increases his value. So I think it's a good signing. I have a friend at work who's a Leicester fan, and I said like Edouard and Ayew, although they're both bench players for Palace, I think they're good signings for someone like Leicester, like good
Yeah.
value and can offer you a lot. Very different players though. Like Ayew is super consistent and consistently like average, fine.
Give you a 7
Edouard is
every game. Yeah. That was our Mark Albrighton. You'd chuck
yeah,
Albrighton on and he'd give you a 7 out of 10 every single game. Never anything. The odd one more, but normally it's a
mm,
7 out of 10, and that was enough in the team that he was in. But
yeah,
yeah, man, it's a tough one. I think there's a lot of snobbery within the fan base at Leicester, because especially a lot of the younger fan base, they are so used to seeing like Leicester being class, Leicester being really good. Like eighth was a bad finish for some of these fans. And
mm,
now the fact that we're playing against Palace, we're not going to be the favourites anymore. People need to
mm,
understand that signings like Ayew are going to help us. Edward's going to help
yeah,
us. And their signings like Steve Cooper's kind of, they're Steve Cooper players. They're going to work well in his system. And I think Leicester fans just need to understand this is where we are at this point. So
mm.
let's just enjoy it. Let's enjoy the ride, because it's never simple supporting this football club. But are you coming into back to Selhurst? Surely he's going to get a lovely reception from you guys, no? Unless he scores one, of course.
He will get a lovely reception. Like he was a great servant for us. He won our player of the season a few years ago. And I think like honestly, Christmas time last year, I was probably like if you asked a Palace fan in January 1st who's Palace's player of the season, I think most would have said IU. They had a really good first half of the season, but then obviously the system changed when Glasner came in and Elisa and Eze were fit, and he's not going to get a sniff in front of those two. He's a very well liked player, like was, played all over the front three, often had long spells on the bench and always like gave 100%. Like he's a very valuable squad player, very valuable squad player. So he will get a good reception. I'm very sure of that.
But like I said, hopefully the reception won't be that good by the end of the game. But as you said, you're expecting a win. Let's move on to what. Let's just talk predictions. Let's go in. Let's go full on. Pretend I'm not here. What's your prediction for tomorrow?
I think well, there's two things I want. I want to win and I want a clean sheet. Like I think that's two things which would be nice. I mean, I think I'd go like a 2-0 Palace personally. I think what and this is the Glasner effect. Before I was just like, if Palace win, I don't care how we do it. I think now, given like the players we have and the way we played it in the last season, I think tomorrow is a good chance for us to kind of put a marker down as like
Yeah,
we've had a few bad results at the start of the season against good teams and teams that have been in the Premier League for a while. Like, let's go and play someone who's just come up into the Prem and show them that we are an established Premier League team and we're not going to be down there. That's what I want to see tomorrow.
yeah.
Knowing Palace, it won't be that simple. And also knowing Steve Cooper, I don't think I'm not sure we beat Forest with Cooper in charge when they came up. Like he's a functional manager, and often we've struggled against managers like that. So I imagine Leicester will make life difficult for us, but I just don't. I want us to try and dominate the game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we win 4 or 5-0, but just like a comfortable 2-0 would be
Comfortable victory.
great.
Yeah. Is that and
Yeah,
I don't think I think I'd have to agree with you, to be honest. As much as my heart's saying I think we'll get a point. I watched that. I've been to Selhurst Park this season actually already. I went to watch Norwich at Crystal
Mm.
Palace, and again, it seemed like Norwich were trying to play football, but you didn't look troubled at all. Like
Yeah.
you didn't look troubled at all, and it was just such an assured performance. And I feel like it could be quite similar tomorrow against the way Steve Cooper played. So I think I'm gonna go 2-1 Palace, but in my heart we can just knock off the other goal and we'll leave with a point, and then we'll take that
You got to
away.
believe.
It's not a win. Yeah, you have to, and that's the thing. That's what kills us in it, the belief. But this meeting's gonna end soon, so I'm gonna just say thank you, Ollie, for coming on. Really appreciate that as always, and we'll make sure this video is out before tomorrow. So hopefully it ages well in my way. But yeah, thanks again for coming on, and cheers everyone for watching again. The support really doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you. See you next time in a bit. Right, let's end this. Cheers for that, pal. Appreciate that.
No, no worries. No worries at all.